Thank you for making this evening happen. We have been sort of, AI has been in news for the last few weeks now. We had a big summit in Delhi, AI summit. We had the who's who of the world talking about it. From the industry point, Manoj, if I can come to you, in terms of how do you see AI, what's your first reaction? Is it a threat, opportunity, something that keeps you awake, or something that you are looking forward to?
Yeah, thank you. So it all depends on how you look at it. So everybody is obsessed on how many jobs will get lost and stuff like that. Then you look at it as a threat. But one thing I must tell you, there's a recent quote from a leading expert on how AI is going to look like and how it is going to be. So what he says is, today as we speak, there are 8 people and 2 machines.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, it will be 2 machines and, it will be 2 people and 8 machines.
Uh-huh.
So that is going to be the difference, number one. The second is, I think from a organization perspective, user perspective and stuff like that, the most important thing is people have to believe, should have the belief that AI is going to change the way we go forward. And here I just want to give you some background on history. This is what we keep talking, is that, at the end of a century and for the first 25 years of the new century, typically most of the things what we did well in the past 25 years is what we'll do in the first 25 years.
Absolutely.
So people always think that this is what is going to be the future, and always the change happens after 25 years. And this is the 25th year.
Okay.
And whenever the change happens, and the change will become so rapid, if you're not prepared, you're completely wiped out. And I think that is what is happening to AI today. Again, it will be collaborative. It's not that there'll be job losses and stuff like that. Human race is quite, they will navigate and then
Absolutely.
They will do something else. But this is here to stay.
Interesting point you mentioned that, that it will be around 25-year mark where we see change happening. I remember in 90s, middle of 90s or rather early 90s, when this whole IT boom, in the sense that we saw networking coming, IT companies. I remember people in colleges used to, like, the first thing they will say, okay, what do you want to do? I want to join an IT company, or that the whole boom started the early 90s. And I think now, 35 years now, we are seeing the change happening over this thing. What's your take? Like, what's your observation? Like, do you see technology as of course, it's a business disruptor, but how should we react to it? People, actually, in the previous panel, people mentioned about COVID. How COVID changed a lot of us, taught us a lot of new things. Will AI be something that we'll be learning new things from?
Absolutely. See, AI, we cannot see that as a threat. As of now, I believe that founders cannot afford to neglect AI. Everyone has to implement AI. And I believe that AI is not going to wipe out the jobs. It is going to create.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is just a simple simple 3 steps approach that we also follow in our organization. See, it is about automation, augmentation, and protection, right?
Absolutely.
So you need to automate the daily admin works and everything, depending on the organization, everything. So, and augmentation will help you in analytics. So AI is never a threat. It is a powerful tool that is going to change the future, and it is going to disrupt the Indian market as well.
Interesting. Manoj, I want to come to you and ask you maybe a bit provocative question here. If we have seen that whenever a new technology comes in, initially the intermediaries make a lot of, I would say, money and influence. And of course, that wanes over time. what is the sense are you getting? You're coming from a financial sector background. There are intermediaries out here. Intermediaries is a very core part of the whole financial sector, the BFSI sector. How do you see that getting impacted through AI and technology?
See, we always confuse in terms of intermediation when it happens, in terms of what value addition we are doing. If you are doing pure mundane stuff, it will get eliminated in just less than 6 months. You know, if it is just crunching some data, putting up something on the net, allowing people, if they can do investing directly and stuff like that, it will all go away. Now, given the way globally the economies, the markets and other things operate with so much of complication and stuff like that, where we are able to add value, 90% of our other work will be done by technology and AI and stuff like that. But that last 10% of the value, you'll still need people to. So in my case, we manage normally large HNI, corporate treasuries, and family offices and all that. So for them, even they have access to everything.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, there is what is called as the emotional touch. COVID happened, you just mentioned. You have all the data, but you don't know the future, what's going to happen. You need somebody to come and tell what to do. Nobody knew what to do. And then you look at somebody and say, ask for advice. And that's where we are. So intermediation will cease to exist where there is no value addition.
Okay.
But wherever there is a higher value addition and emotional touch to the whole thing, I think it will remain forever.
Interesting. In fact, you, I think, advise a lot of founders and you interact with a lot of founders also. What is the sense are you getting from startup founders and young entrepreneurs? Are they sort of going out to embrace, as you mentioned, they should,
right,
or are they sort of bit, looking at a disruption which might happen in their field of work? What is the sense you are getting from them?
So we talk to multiple founders, early stage founders, startup founders, and MSMEs on an everyday basis. The major concern that I hear from them is, will AI disrupt my business, or will AI replace my core team, or will bigger companies adopt AI quickly so that it will make us irrelevant? So the major concerns and the fear is out there. But the interesting fact is, smart founders are not asking, will AI disrupt my business? They are asking, how do I become 10x using AI?
Okay.
So that's the difference that I see.
Would you sort of resonate the same, this thing? Like, are you seeing, what are the big concerns that the people are asking you in terms of technology disruption that they are expecting?
With our clients, obviously most of them are also entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Where we see, a concern is that first is the disbelief.
Okay.
So I think that is the biggest challenge that everybody has. That, nothing is going to happen. Last 25 years I have done it this way. Last 50 years my grandfather has done it this way and stuff like that. So first is the disbelief, and that is still there. The people still think that nothing is going to, disrupt them and stuff like that. And slowly when, like today morning, in the morning I was reading a newspaper, Economic Times. Every single page had a mention about AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Including the political page.
Yeah.
So then the realization happens, and slowly they get to adapt and stuff like that. But today, as we speak, in the space, not so much on the startup space, which is all tech-driven, but especially on the MSME, SME side, there is still a disbelief that nothing will happen, and we have done it this way, we will do it this way.
So is that a red flag for you?
No, see, it's not a red flag, it's a curve. you know,
Okay.
it comes like this and then it just happens. It's only a matter of time. And they will learn quickly that when others are adapting, we are falling back and then stuff like that. So ultimately, I'm sure most of the people will be forced to adapt.
MSMEs actually
Sure.
not adopting AI is a red flag for India actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because I believe that India has that potential to become the AI capital of the world. So I think even SMEs should adopt AI, and policymakers should bring in some policies to incentivize or to take it forward for the MSMEs as well.
But issue here is that, as you mentioned, there's a mindset issue. That, okay, we have done business the way we have done it, and also, there's something coming, and, you're not sure, they say that, in a tunnel, when you're entering a tunnel, you don't know it's a train coming that side, or is it the end of the tunnel that you are seeing, the light, So point is that how do you prepare the mindset? There's also the issue of the fact that when you use AI in your own company, in your own business, there's also ethical issue here. I would say a moral issue, not ethical, moral issue that might lead to loss of manpower. I have to replace people. I may be, like the business would want you to use AI because you'll become more efficient. While you might think that, look, these people have been with me for so many years. Do I really want to let them go? How do you resolve this moral question in the minds, both of you?
Okay. No, quickly, as I said, again, you have to go back in history.
Okay.
We have seen multiple changes across last 100 years. So in the 1930s in the US, it was agriculture. Mechanization happened. Tractors came, tillers came, all that. 70% of the population was doing only agriculture. And 70% of the GDP was agriculture. They said it's going to kill the jobs in
Absolutely.
US. Nothing happened. People moved from agriculture to industry. 1930 onwards till 1980, it was industry where people moved.
Absolutely.
And then the productivity of agriculture went up significantly. Not that anything changed. In fact, on the other hand, a lot of more stuff got produced. And then industry happened. After industry, technology came. And then, automation and stuff like that happened. People moved to IT related and stuff like that. So, see, as I said, the human race is quite innovative.
Very, very adaptive.
Yeah, we'll adapt. So it's. I think in the first few years there can be some disruption. I'm not telling that there will not be any job losses and all that, but the job losses will be more where the person is doing repetitive job without much of a use of a brain. So those jobs will get, I'm sure Sriram will agree. So that is the first round of disruption that will happen. But the rest of them there will be two types of people. One is a person who's got, not adapted to AI. One is a person who will be successful who's adapted to AI.
Exactly.
And then that is how.
So AI will not take away your job.
No.
The person who has got adapted to AI will definitely take away your job.
Absolutely.
The risk is not AI. The risk is hesitation.
Exactly.
That is what I believe in. And founders should change their mindset towards AI. I don't think AI is going to take away your jobs. If AI is actually making you efficient, just think about your teammates. If you actually provide them those AI tools, or if everyone is well versed with AI, it is your company which is going to be much more efficient. So I don't think it is going to be a threat. As you mentioned, people who learn AI will replace humans, but AI is not going to replace it directly.
So basically what you're saying is that we should embrace AI and, okay, please.
I have a point there. See, ultimately, corporations, companies, they all work for making money.
Absolutely.
So if AI is going to increase the productivity and profitability, why not? They will do it. They will adapt it faster.
Absolutely.
If just for people to know that I'm adapted to AI and it's not resulting in any kind of this one, you'll be burning your capital. So it has to be used very, very, clearly knowing that this, if you're doing something and you're putting some capital to use AI and stuff like that, it should help you to increase productivity, number one. And also it should help you to increase your profitability.
Absolutely. What's your take? Like, would you agree with that? Second that?
No, I really agree with him. AI, it depends on the corporation, right? It depends on,
But what do you find? Do you find the startups or the founders, are they investing enough in AI? Are you finding them? Because the one criticism that India has, especially the startup community, they have, India is still not a product nation per se. We are more of a service provider nation.
Yeah.
So, for adapting AI, you need to also be, you have to be ahead of the curve.
Right.
So how do you see that change happening?
You're absolutely right. India is a service-based nation. We've been relied on that, but now since technology is shifting, everything is shifting, India will also have to shift. And India is just stepping into its adulthood, right? So that is the reason I told that India can become AI capital. Once we actually enter into the product-based companies and everything, India can change. So I think everyone should embrace AI, actually founders should.
Coming to one policy, in fact, when we had the AI summit in Delhi recently, the Prime Minister was also there and quite a few global leaders were there. Policy, the fact that responsible AI, what would be your message to policymakers that, because people are going, if you want people to embrace AI, they also have to know the pitfalls and the downside, what we are discussing now, we are seeing now in social media, What would be your advice to policymakers be in terms of creating the guardrails so that people are safe?
No, absolutely. I think you take, for example, banking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's highly regulated. You leave everything to a agentic AI, and something happens. Who's responsible? So I think as much as adoption should be encouraged, there should be enough guardrails and regulations so that there is a fallback and a responsibility on whoever is using. So otherwise, what will happen is, if there are no guardrails, if there are no proper strong regulation on use and stuff like that, if some big fiasco happens, there'll be nobody to take responsibility.
It's nobody's baby, yeah.
So absolutely. So I think very, very important. And India, that way, I think we are blessed. Most of our regulators, what we have, especially on the financial services side, I think they are one of the best in the world. So we escaped 2008, 2007, we escaped 2000. So we didn't get into major. So I think, I'm sure the regulators are already working on that and then putting a proper regulation and compliance in place.
Sriram, do you think that maybe the civil society, because we know in our homes, our kids are sort of using AI on their phones, on a day-to-day basis. From a civil society perspective, do you think the civil society has to be active now? We have to be more proactive
you're right. Definitely.
And the kids were the first one to sort of, in a family, we use AI, sort of.
So, definitely policy makers should step in because AI is widely being used, not just by organization, as you mentioned, it is widely being used in the society. So, I don't know if we'll be able to regulate it because it is a difficult job. The policy makers should actually, government should act as an enablers, not gatekeepers. That is what I believe. If we actually act as enablers and regularize this AI, the main thing is ethical frameworks is what I believe in.
So Manoj, how do you crack that? Because on one hand, you want a gatekeeper and also want a regulator. You want both the dual roles to. How do you crack that?
See, it's very difficult to regulate a civil society.
Exactly.
It's rather impossible because there is who's going to regulate. I mean, it's all self-regulation is what we need to do. But at least in organized, companies and sectors and stuff like that, there it is easy because you have a regulator everywhere, and then they can put guardrails and other things in place
Absolutely.
and then get it done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but civil society, I think it is, it's self-regulation is what one has to do. It can disrupt both ways, on the positive side as well as on the negative side.
So would you sort of suggest more citizen action in terms of awareness and action?
Absolutely.
Because end of the day, in a civil society setup, in a family setup, you know the pitfalls, you know the upsides and the downsides of a new technology coming in. So how do you sort of, as a family, as a parent, as a how do you sort of protect both and have the benefits of both? What would be your sort of?
No, it is civic sense. We cannot regulate it, as he mentioned. So it is self-discipline that you'll have to get in.
I think you have to create more awareness. And I think over a period of time that will certainly happen. And also where regulation can come is on the providers of AI tools.
Okay.
So that is where it can get regulated, not on the users. Obviously, the government can, like what they do on the social media today.
Yeah.
So similarly, probably they can put in some restrictions on what they can do and what they can't do and what results can come and stuff like that. That is possible. That is not from the regulatory side, but mostly it can come from the government. And they can give a direction to that.
Manoj, Sriram, thank you. Thank you for this conversation.